questions still abound as the season is about to begin. This is California, where momentum is the name of the game. Will the 24 pick up where last season left off? The man himself, Jeff Gordon, joins us to look at how things are going. In the garage, on the track, and even under the lights. This is Hollywood. Preseason Thunder starts now.
The sun has left sunny Southern California. The testing is almost over, and we're getting ready to race for real. A few more laps to go, a lot of numbers to crunch, and then the racing is on. Welcome once again, everyone, to the California Speedway. I'm John Roberts, right next to Jeff Hammond, and again, we're right in the middle of it all. Cars still working as this day winds down, but Hammond, the business is slowed a little bit on the track.
Just a little bit. A lot of guys left about lunchtime today, but the key thing is the guys who did stick around, like the Hendrick team, the Penske operation, as well as the Petty operation. A lot of teams still trying to get that final little bit of lap times in here to figure out exactly what they're going to need to make this racetrack be their friend when they come back here in less than a month.
Well, perhaps one of the most important sessions was last night, the evening group that went out here under the lights, because when we come back here to California, that's when we will race. Let's take a look at what went on as the sun set on Thursday night. Martin Truex Jr. See a little spark flying out underneath that car,
well,
Jeff?
When the sun goes down, speeds pick up, and all of a sudden these cars start bottoming out. It looks like the 4th of July going off on a lot of these turns. And remember, JR, you're running these corners at over 200 miles an hour.
Saw a little teamwork going on out on the racetrack last night.
Yeah, you take a look right there, Regan Smith right there, following, the car being driven by Eric Almirola, which is normally driven by Mark Martin. But also, you see Dale Jarrett right there racing along with David Rudiman at down. David Rudiman wasn't very happy with his car early on, but he felt like the adjustments they made in early evening start of this practice, that it got better. And you can clearly see he drove right by his teammate right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Let's take a look at the numbers, and it was Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, and Greg Biffle, along with Michael Waltrip, when we see a Roush presence in that top 5.
Definitely so, and these guys have been strong at this racetrack in recent years. Matt Kenseth won this race a year ago. There he is second behind his teammate, but a lot of his teammates are saying Carl is the man so far.
Boyer, Paul Menard, and David Reagan also in the top 10 in speeds. We still had a full complement of race cars out on the racetrack, but after this nighttime session, some guys packed it and moved it. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but now let's get you ahead to the morning session this morning. And guess who was fastest again?
Carl Edwards. Again, we were talking about it. This guy has kind of figured this racetrack out, and he's running extremely well, and Roush's record kind of speaks for itself, so you better watch out.
A couple of scary moments out on the racetrack. We saw a couple guards get loose, but right there, that was not one of them. Clint Boyer, this was one of them, Jimmy Johnson.
I saw a lot of stripes, you might say, on the sides of these race cars. There's one right there by Eric Almirola driving for Mark Martin. A lot of guys brushing the wall early on.
Kurt Busch was 30th fastest, and those guys stuck around all day today, keep on working on that race car. Jeremy Mayfield up in the top 10 in his new ride, which that Haas automation team is looking for a lot out of that group this season. Let's take a look at some of the numbers from this morning session. And again, Carl Edwards up there. We saw him a moment ago, but some other guys to talk about. Another Roush racing car up there, Jamie McMurray in the 26.
Jamie McMurray, he's getting better. I think he's pretty happy with his race car. But let's go back and talk about Jeremy Mayfield right here, number 10 as far as the speed chart. But everybody in the garage area says, hey, look at Mayfield. He's looking pretty racy here. So that's a good thing for that number 70 car.
Let's now hear from some of the faster cars, the ones who stuck around for this morning session this morning.
We worked on a lot of stuff today with bump stops and stuff on the front end, and it helped out the car quite a bit, but I think we still got quite a bit of work to do to catch some of those guys out there. But I felt like we learned more today than we did 2 days at Vegas and yesterday, so we had a good day today.
Yeah, all of the Roush Fenway cars were pretty good, and our engineering department has really stepped it up. And with the car tomorrow, with the simulation program, they just you can come and unload the tracks, and the cars drive pretty good. So I think Carl probably had the best car of our group, but all 5 cars were fast.
I think we learned a lot. The key is going back and applying what we learned, so we can come back and be a touch better. But pretty happy with it. I think the track's going to get slick, and it's going to get really difficult. But that's what's fun. I mean, I hope it gets like that. As long as it's it's difficult for everybody, not just me, it'll be good.
Now, folks, you can't read too much into one test session, but Jeff Hammond, if you go back to last season, and remember, Jack Roush himself came out and said, we did not research this car tomorrow properly. We're going back to the drawing board, and at least in speeds last night and this morning at this racetrack, it looks as if it's paid off.
It's definitely gotten better for them guys, you know, and a year's difference makes a tremendous amount when you come to the track. But the big thing is the drivers seem like they're confident, and that's what you're looking for. Jeff Burton summed it up, I think, the best. You want to take the information that you've accumulated over the last few days at not only Las Vegas but here at California Speedway and go back and apply it so when you get back to this racetrack you can make this car hook up and run around here the way you really want it to. That's going to be the important part, is being able to get there faster when you get back here. The track's going to change again, JR, before we get back.
And one thing that changed a lot this afternoon as we got into this current session that's going on right now is the sun went away and a lot of teams did as well. Let's take a look at some of the fast cars in this afternoon session, and you'll see a common theme here as well, and that theme is Hendrick Motorsports.
Hey, they're back. Are you surprised? I mean,
No.
again, this guy sat on the pole here in the spring, ran second to Matt Kenseth, but he's always been a good, fierce competitor when it comes to this racetrack.
All right, another guy up on the speed chart, the number 48, Jimmy Johnson. Now, again, most of the cars have pulled out at this point, so again, we can't put too much into these speeds, but when you look at the top of this chart, it was Hendrick dominated.
Hendrick dominated, but the key thing is watching this 48 car. Remember, he said his car didn't drive with a blank yesterday, so maybe they've gotten it better today. But this guy here, Pat Tryson told me, Kurt Busch, they have definitely liked this racetrack over Las Vegas.
Casey Mears, another Hendrick Motorsports car, still out on the racetrack as we speak right now, as is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the number 88. And those guys continue to work and continue to turn laps out west here. And Jeff, if you look up and down the garage area, you might think to yourself, hey, these guys who were first, second, and in the chase last year, they might be the ones you expect to pull out, leave early, and head home. But they're the ones who are here to the bitter end.
And you know why, JR? Because the fact they want to be there at the bitter end, you might say. At the end of that season, they realize the competition is closed up on them. They've got to stay here and work and work and work to get their cars better because the tires are a little bit different from the year ago. Plus, the competition itself has finally closed that gap as far as Hendrick is concerned.
So the work continues out here on the racetrack as Jimmy Johnson passes right behind us. They are still out there, and they clearly have made improvements in their lap time. So, folks, stick around. Still much more to come from California as the sun starts to set behind the clouds and the track cools down. Jeff Gordon hasn't won a championship since 2001, so was last year a missed opportunity? Coming up, Jeff looks at what could have been, plus all the latest from the garage. Stick around. We'll be back.